Welcome to Author Mastery Insights. And this is going to be a very, very special conversation with a person that I love and appreciate and serves chiropractic and humanity in a profound and powerful way. I'm with Dr. Arno Burnier. Arno, always love connecting, always really excited to have conversations. Welcome.
Thank you, Marcus. I'm so happy that we could do this together. And the respect and the love is mutual.
I
Every
appreciate
time I saw you stepping into any kind of podcast or messages, it's always wonderful, and it's pure chiropractic, and it's right on, and it's principled, and it's clear. So I'm very grateful.
Well, thank you for that. And, for those not familiar, uh, Arno is one of the great statesmen of our profession. He has taught, he has philosophized, he has served, he has been an incredible bastion for principled chiropractic, which is why when he wrote The Cafe of Life, and I've got my digital version here with my physical version on the way, The Cafe of Life and the Mosquito Principle, I immediately got my digital version to read. I've also ordered my physical version because to have that on the bookshelf and to make available for clients to read is an incredible gift to them. And I wanted to have this conversation because when you know and understand philosophy the way Arno does, and you then take your life message and put it into paper to share with humanity, you're creating a great service. And even before we talk about this book, I want everybody to go out and buy a copy of this for their own growth and then to make it available in their practice for their patient, their practice members' growth, because it is a true gift of understanding. So I want to just say thank you, Arno, for writing this book. And I want to tell everybody this is a life and game changer. So let's start though, Arno. I want to know from your perspective, why write after all you have already contributed to the profession? Why write a book?
Oh, that's wonderful. First, let me say this, Marcus. We have had a challenge with the book coming in physical form, paperback or hard copy, into Australia. And I just spoke with Amazon today, and I'm going to handle it. And they assure me that within about 72 hours, the physical copy, either paperback or hardcover, will be available in Australia. And for everyone listening, there is 7 illustrations inside the book that are profound. If you really look into the cover of the book, you start to see that it's a book that you can judge by its cover. It's amazing when you expand it and you see the neurology, the tree of life, the connection with universal energy. It's a wonderful thing. So to answer your question, over the years, I have seen many books, wonderful books, published by chiropractors, but I always felt that it was a hard sell, and it was somewhat like chiropractic is the only answer and the answer. And I felt, you know, there is going to be a way to convey a message through stories. And then when I looked at doing it through stories, I thought, why not share my own story, my own journey through life, and infuse my journey and my story with very profound chiropractic principle, not just about health and healing and well-being and wellness, but also about life. And so that's what I did. I wanted to do a book that would be appealing to the public, appealing to the chiropractic profession, appealing to the student, but that people will be captivated and connecting with a story. Because what I've learned over the years in public speaking is that people remember the stories that you tell and what is the message that that story conveys. And that's why I wrote this book. And the other part of it, Marcus, is that I'm in the winter of my life. I'm in the last quarter of my life, hopefully, and nothing better than to leave a legacy. But I resisted doing this for so many years because I didn't want to sit in front of a computer. I didn't want to spend my life, 3 or 4 or 5 months in front of a computer. And then the demand became so intense from different people that had attended my seminars, my teaching, my training camps, and all this. So I thought, you know what? I need to surrender and answer the call. And I found myself in Mexico in the Baja California South. And I thought, that's it. I'm just going to do it and weave all of the different things that I've understood and connected over the years and weave it into a story. And I won't be shy to say that some areas of the book will push the envelope for some people, but that's how you plant a seed for a new evolving consciousness.
And I really want to echo those words, plant the seed for evolving consciousness. We know that chiropractic, when you adjust subluxation, not only removes interference to the spine and nervous system, it expresses human potential. And one of the aspects of that potential is the elevation of consciousness and an adjustment to transcend the symptomatic into the elevation of humanity is a gift. And if I can be bold enough to say this on your behalf, because I know you're an incredibly humble man, you've actually captured the principles of chiropractic in a way that makes it accessible, but realizes, as you said, planting that seed to create a greater elevation of humanity through the reading. What was your, and you spoke about, weaving it through story, but what was your mechanism of bringing principles, the significance of the ability to elevate humanity into a story? I'm fascinated by, did this come to you through a thought flash? Did this come to you through divine inspiration? Or was it designed, planned? How did you manage to bring such concreteness to words and story to be so pregnant with the capacity to bring about change?
I totally get it. So it came actually out of a shock. And the shock was that when I stepped into practice in 1978, I was in a very conservative town, a small town in Pennsylvania that was mostly conservative, and a lot of people that work for the pharmaceutical industry in the Route 1 corridor between Princeton and Windsor, New Jersey. So my town was a bedroom community for those people. And when I stepped into practicing, I was virtually seen as a black sheep, as a quack. I couldn't join the country club because I was a chiropractor. When I was at social gathering and people find out that I was a chiropractor, they would virtually bolt away from me and just split the conversation right away. So I thought, I'm going to conduct my life in a way that those people will have to eat their words. Also, on Main Street where I was practicing, there was a lot of medical offices and real estate offices. And it was a tight-knit community where the Main Street businesses interacted with one another all the time. So the word got out very quickly that a quack was practicing on Main Street. And I could feel the energy when people knew that I was a chiropractor. And I thought, over time, they will have to eat their words. So what I was determined to do is every 2 weeks, I gave talks in my office. And when I talk about giving talks, I didn't mean a talk on selling chiropractic, what we call a lay lecture. I decided I would take building block of chiropractic principle and philosophy and then teach those building blocks, but in a way that the public could absorb it. Not in a dogmatic way, not in a theoretical way from the green books or whatever, but how do I apply those principles and share it with the public in a way that it's a take-home formula for them to use in their lives. So over the years, I give talks on innate intelligence, on universal intelligence, on life force, on the triune of life, on the meaning of illness, on the meaning and the understanding of symptomatology and symptoms, on the birth process, on the dying process. What is health? What is well-being? What is healing? The true nature of healing, and what are the different levels in healing? What are the causes of subluxations? What is the power of the adjustment? So as a result of giving those talks, and I had a cycle of 12 talks and then another 12 talks, so 24 talks in a year, I would schedule them either on a Tuesday or on a Thursday. So if 1 week it was on a Tuesday, 2 weeks later it was on a Thursday. so that nobody could say, you know, I always have a yoga class on Tuesday, or I always have a PTA meeting, Parent Teacher Association meeting on Tuesday. Oh, no problem. In 2 weeks, he'll be on a Thursday. So I invited my clients, my people, my patient, whatever you want to call it, practice member, to attend the talks. And that was set on the first visit. I made it very clear that in this office, I give talks. And I would kid with people. I would say they're extremely boring. You're going to hate them, but I'm going to ask you to be there. Or I would say they are so good that unless you sign up at the front desk, you won't have a seat. Sometimes people that resisted coming to my talks, I would say, I understand, I've asked you a number of times to come to my talks and you don't want to come. So I understand that. Can you do it for me? If you can't do it for yourself, can you do it for me? And strangely enough, when I switch that, people say, okay, I get it. I'll be there. And they would show up. Over a period of time, I had big crowds. And I created what I call a constituency, not a following, because my mindset was, I am not teaching them anything. I am allowing them to discover within themselves, to uncover within themselves what they already know, what every human being knows within. So that's a process that I went through. So obviously, when I would give talk, people say, oh, I love your talk. It was very interesting. I understand. And then about 5, 6, 7, 8 talks later, they would come up to me and say, you know, Arno, I realized you never taught us anything. And that's the day that I realized they were home to themselves. They got the message at a deep level, and now they were able to tap within themselves and connect with something that will provide from within an answer. Not because I had taught them from the outside in, but because I had allowed them to uncover within themselves an inherent building truth that live and reside within every human being. So that was a process.
So you took that process and that journey to evoke a deep awakening through your presence with them, and you've now embodied that within a book. You've given life to the story to bring life to the reader. Would that be a fair way of assessing that?
It's a fair way of stating that. I think the posts on Facebook from the people that have read the book are pretty extraordinary. And actually, you know, when you put a book out, it's like a piece of art. Are people going to like it? Are they going to reject it? Are they going to embrace it or attack it? So far, all of the posts that I've seen from the public, as well as from chiropractors and chiropractic students, is pretty amazing. And I feel obviously very grateful and blessed that the book is very well received so far.
And you just mentioned it's been well received, and I've loved it. And I think it does tell such a profound story. How does it feel when you write a book and you're now in this position of vulnerability of what are people going to think? How's it going to be received? How have you felt getting this feedback, seeing its impact, and knowing that that message is now there as your legacy? What's happened within you as the writer, and the feelings that have welled up as a result?
So when I was writing the book, there was a part of me, a piece of me that was concerned. Am I pushing the envelope too far? Am I bringing something that is so far out of most people's understanding and consciousness and box of belief system? And then the more I was doing it, I was like, no, this is my truth. This is my truth. I got to say it. I got to put it out. But I got to put it out in a way that is progressive. So the more they get into the book, they go, I love this, I love this, I love this. And then suddenly it's like, oh, wow, this is pretty out there. Oh, but I love this, I love this. Oh, this is another piece that's pretty out there, pushing the envelope. So that was a process that I went through writing it. Now that I'm receiving the feedback, I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude, and I feel blessed. I feel absolutely blessed, that I had that, whatever you want to call it, that gift or that capacity to, through story, share or vitalistic principle or deep understanding of life, of all of the aspects of life, because to me, chiropractic is a philosophy of life and health and things natural, as defined by the pioneers, by the developer and the founders of chiropractic. So I just feel like this is a wonderful way of sharing it with the public in a way that can be absorbed, ingested, digested, and then eventually integrated.
Beautiful. I know I will do that as well. And you mentioned going through your own challenges, delaying the process, and then finally feeling this gratitude for getting that message out there. You know, I think, and you mentioned a lot of chiropractors have written books and maybe have made it a hard sell. I just want to take a step aside for a moment as we think about other chiropractors, and I'm going to come back to you in a moment about your book. But what do you think, and what would you say to other chiropractors who maybe have we all have a book within us, but we've resisted writing the book or felt like we're not good enough to write the book or dealt with our own doubts, uncertainties, and insecurities about sharing our message. What would you say to them, given where you have come from or what you've done in the writing of this book, to give them that sense of freedom to express and explore their own book that's within them?
This is a great question. What I would say is be willing to be authentic, real, and vulnerable, and share your story, your path, fearlessly. Just share your story fearlessly. A lot of time people ask me, I don't know how to give talks. I'm afraid of giving talks. Can you help me start? And I say, you know where you can start? You can start with what was your understanding of your own body, of your own health, of healing, of symptom, of sickness, of disease, of birth, of death, of spirituality, of ecology before chiropractic? What was it? And then create the contrast of since chiropractic, how your understanding has changed. For example, for me, I had disrespect for my body. I didn't understand the sacredness of the human body, the temple that it is before chiropractic. Since chiropractic, I grew this understanding to have utmost respect for my body, which translate in every single moment and day in my action, in what I do with myself, what I ingest in my body, what I listen to, what I'm exposed to, and so on and so forth. So just doing that simple talk, it's easy because you don't have anything to remember. You just have to tell the truth about where you were at before chiropractic, and since you understood chiropractic principle and philosophy and science. And then you can even talk about how you would address challenges that you had in your body, which for most people was drugs and medication and surgery, which there is a time and place for. But since your understanding of chiropractic, how do you handle most challenges that you have with your health or in your life? And just by sharing those two perspectives, you allow and you give permission to the public to step into a different world. So that was my process. And to the people that are thinking of writing a book, I said, just go for it. To be absolutely truthful, I had an editor that virtually did no editing. They did editing as far as the grammar, the structure of sentences, the spelling, because English is not my first language, but they did not fuss with the story or the text or say you should move this over here, move over here, cut out this, develop this. None of that happened. So I was very fortunate. But the other thing that I would say for people thinking of writing a book, it is an investment of time and energy. Don't kid yourself that you just write a book and put it out. It's a lot of time and energy, and it's also a significant financial investment, most of which you will not recoup unless you become New York Times bestseller, or unless you have a series of books like, I can't remember the different names of books that have series, where it's like the story keeps on going. But if you write one book, no, don't kid yourself. But if you're willing to put the message out, because your vision is to elevate human consciousness in relationship to life and health and well-being and healing, then just do it because it needs to be done.
It absolutely does, and you have done that. And I guess the last question I have is, as we come to a conclusion here, which is, I would love for you to reflect on distilling the message of the book with a message to the people watching this and later reading this as well, because I would love them. I could share my interpretation of it, but I would love for you to give them an understanding of what I know that they will, and what you hope that they will, how they will be changed as a result of the reading of this book and its value in immersing yourself in this journey.
So in that question, Marcus, there is two layers. One is to the chiropractor and chiropractic student, and one is to the public. And in the public, I would include other health professionals, medical doctor, osteopath, naturopath, acupuncturist, you name it. So to the chiropractor, I think it will clarify a lot of what I found over the years, misunderstanding, misconception, or even gap or void in their foundation of the principle. It will clear that. It will deepen their understanding of the very foundation of a philosophy and principle. And it will clear and clean any gap or misconception or misunderstanding that they have. And as a result, the capacity to communicate clearly in the office will be upgraded dramatically. To the chiropractic student, I think it can be virtually a roadmap to go through school and absorb a lot of the material that they're bombarded with in school that can be overwhelming, and put it in a context, because they have already been exposed to a content and a context that makes sense. So as a result, they can take their education and draw out of their education something very practical that then they can apply in practice. For the public as a whole, it's going to be an eye-opener. For some of the public, maybe 10%, it's going to be great support, great validation to where they already have gone. But for most, it will be a great opening in their consciousness and a different way of looking at themselves, at health, at healing, at well-being, at sickness and disease, at birth, death, you name it. For health professional, I think it's going to be a shock for some of them, because it will tilt their world upside down, but in a good way. Not like, oh, my world is upside down and now what do I do? No, my world is upside down, but I know now the direction that I need to move into. And that transition might not be easy for some health practitioner, but it will be a very valuable journey for them.
Yeah, beautifully put. And I think if I can just say once more my gratitude and appreciation for all you have done for the chiropractic profession and your community. And what I want to say, not only to you for that, but to everybody who's watching this and who gets the opportunity to think and reflect for a moment about purchasing this book. I want you to do it for a number of reasons. One, it is a book, and I can speak personally from this, that will transform your life. It will deepen your understanding of principles of life, principles of health, deepen your philosophy, and strengthen your resolve to serve. It will help you recognize the potential inherent in what you do, not only as a chiropractor, but what possibilities exist for humanity when we elevate them, as we can do within the walls of our practices, but even with the words that we share outside of the walls of our practice. This gives you the opportunity to grow personally and professionally, grow as a chiropractor, and become more conscious and therefore capable of bringing about change. So for that, Arno, I want to acknowledge and appreciate you. You have been a thought leader within our profession, a great teacher and a great leader. And the wisdom distilled within these pages is testimony to all you have already done, how you have already served. And if you as a reader, you as a chiropractor watching this, a chiropractic student, or even my clients within the practice, The reading of this is to look into the heart and mind of one of the great thinkers of our time in chiropractic and be able to access that because it's written in story. It's written in a way that is not only accessible, but actually digestible. And so you are going to be changed in the very reading of this, and therefore the capacity to bring more change into the world because of who you become as a result of that. So I'm going to remind everybody, go grab your copy now. Dr. Arno, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for your service. Thank you for this book. Thank you for all that you have done. And again, allowing me to grow through my contact with you. This is a game changer. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Marcus. And your last piece, I might as well not show up. You did an incredible job talking about what the book can bring to people. So I'm very grateful. Really, that was awesome.
Yeah,
That
I
was awesome.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All
All my
right.
love to you, Marcus.
Love you too, Arno. Go grab your copy. Let's go make the world a better place. Thank you.